What's going on with Shannon Sharpe, folks? Let's not play dumb. It does not make sense for you not to understand that you are a lick. You are a target. You are a bag to a lot of these women. I get it when these young fellas make this mistake, but Shannon, you're in your 50s, man. You should understand that you can't deal with women like that. And you messing with this young, as the brothers say, snow bunny, and then there's people out there saying if it would have been a sister, you might not have been in trouble, but the sisters is getting you too. This is just the modern way. Not all women are bad, but there are some women out there that look at you as a lick. How can you not understand that? And then you're going to try to give a woman $10 million to mediate offers? And I understand that doesn't make you look guilty, but to other people, they don't understand that, brother. Come on, man. You got to do better than this. And it's like what I used to tell you guys. I call it the Vanessa Williams theory. And my Vanessa Williams theory, I said it before. They got dirt on all these black people once they start getting a lot of media attention. I knew once Shannon Sharpe started getting all this media attention, they had some kind of dirt on him. I understood that. You need to understand it. You just a lick. All these women are waiting for you at the finish line. So if you're already at the finish line, you're going to attract not only the good women, but you're going to attract the bad women. And if you can't decipher from who good and bad, you don't even need to be in serious situations.
Yeah, Shay Shay, he needs to understand his position. He's an older man. He's worth a lot of money, as you called it, a lick, because they're gonna lick you a couple of times, brother, if you act that way.
Come on, man. They're going to drag you through the mud. You already know you're a brother, so you know the media is not going to handle the situation the way they handle it for them. You already know that. And what upsets me the most is you an older brother. Let me say this, and you was dealing with a young snow bunny, so you should have known. Now, back in college, I used to go skiing. I skied a couple times. I hung out with a couple snow bunnies, but I learned quickly. They operate on a different level. And let me tell you how I know. And I don't mean to generalize. I know everybody's different. But the story I'm about to tell you right now may not make a lot of sense to you. But trust me, if you really knew what I was going through at the time, it had my mind playing tricks on me, folks. It was like I was stuck in a whole nother world. The experience changed how I view dating in general. So, after college, I had moved to this place called Ventura County. This is the last time I ever messed with a snow bunny. And let me tell you what happened, folks. The reason why I stopped skiing. This is why I stopped skiing. I started messing with this one snow bunny up in the mountains and stuff. They had this city called Ojai. And let me tell you what happened. This is what happened. And she didn't do anything wrong. But I started experiencing racism for the first time when I moved here. Because I grew up, the only time I've ever experienced racism was like, from the police or the system. I had roommates. So I even lived in Indiana, Iowa, never had any problems with racism other than, the police situation. But I moved to this place in the 805 Ventura County. And so now I'm messing with this snow bunny. She live up in the mountains. And let me tell you what happened. So one morning after us hanging out all morning, it was probably around 12 p.m., she wake up and she lived on this hill and she had neighbors over there and whatever on the hill, whatever, right? But all the mailboxes was down at the bottom of the hill. So all of a sudden she says, let me go check my mail. Now I said, oh, okay, I'm still laying in the bed. I'm naked, I'm laying in the bed. But I'm watching her get up. As she's getting up, I'm thinking, okay, she's gonna go check her mail. She gets up and she don't put on any clothes, any shoes. Now, I'm used to seeing gray people walking around with no socks and no shoes, but this woman don't put on any shoes, no clothes. She's in her birthday outfit, folks. She walks outside, butt naked, to go get her mail. Because, it's one of them areas, a lot of hippie type people live up in these mountains and shit, right? So I get up, I was like, did she not put on she didn't put on any clothes. So as she's walking down the hill, I go to the window and I'm like, she walking down to get her mail with no clothes on. At first I thought it was like odd, like, is she crazy? But as I kept watching, I looked around and yes, it was an area in the hills, But there were other family homes, regular roads with cars driving down the roads. I started having crazy thoughts that I just couldn't shake. So as she's walking down the hill, all of a sudden I'm looking at her going, what the fuck? So all this negative shit started going on in my head. I started going, what if like an eagle come and peck her and all of a sudden she started bleeding? So now we got a snow bunny butt naked. Now am I gonna run outside? And I started thinking all these negative thoughts. Folks. And then all of a sudden a dog come up while she's at the mailbox. I'm watching her. I can see the mailbox down on the hill. So I'm watching her butt naked outside, 12 p.m. in the afternoon. She started petting the dog, and I was like, what if this dog, and it's like bears and shit up in these mountain type areas and stuff. What if a bear attack her, and then this is how my brain was thinking. And then I was thinking, if somebody attack her right now, a bear or something, but I said, if she fall and trip and get knocked out, and then I run outside, her hair's all frizzy and shit from what we was doing earlier. And I started thinking, for the first time in my life, I started having negative thoughts. And this was a cool girl. She didn't do anything to me, folks. But all those negative thoughts I started having. And I think it was a combination of what I was dealing with in terms of racial stuff and thinking about all the stories my grandmother had told me about the men in my family went through in Alabama many, many years ago. It was like the whole situation became real as hell. And I know some of y'all out there thinking, oh, you just needed some therapy. But my mind shifted, folks, and something in me changed forever. And so as she's walking back up the hill, I'm going to tell you something. By the time she got up the hill, man, I went and put on all my clothes. By the time she hit the door, came in the door, I was already in prison for the next 30 years in my mind. And this woman didn't do nothing but just go get her mail butt naked. And that was the last time I went skiing. Never went skiing again because of that thought process I had. You understand, folks? And that was almost 30-some years ago. I was still in my 20s. I get why young men do things like that. We don't think like that. We always thinking with that other head in our 20s. But Shannon Sharpe, you should know in your 50s, man, you shouldn't be playing with no little snow bunnies. That's just ridiculous. If you're going to mess with a snow bunny, she should be an older woman who just want to have a little fun. You not Leonardo DiCaprio, brother. You a big-ass brother. Don't be fooled by how them people treat you thinking you goody two-shoe. You're not. And it's disappointing to see this in so many men that's older. But once you hit your 30s and 40s and 50s, you shouldn't even have any conversation with a woman unless you know her in today's age. And especially if you're worth millions. Makes no damn sense. You getting grape allegations at this age, at this stage of your life, right when you getting ready to blow up, man? Are you out your fucking mind? Club Shay Shay was the biggest black podcast. You had rappers, you had legends on there. You sitting next to millionaires. You was on your way to billionaire status. You was getting ready to take over the game, man. And for what? You rich, man. You can't be out here living like you in your 20s. And I'm glad I had that incident with that girl, because what happened was I understood. That was my Negro wake-up call. But before that, I didn't know. I thought I was just a regular old Joe back in college. I thought I could just do whatever, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But that woke me up consciously, along with all the stuff I was going through too. And I said, oh man, I can't deal with them. You can't be chasing these women, any woman in this world. You got money, man. What is wrong with you? You seen what happened to Tiger Woods? He fell for the game too, thought he was just a regular old, you guys are brothers. The system is not set up for you, man. You know the history of this country, because it can happen to any man. But not when you're in your 50s. What the hell?